Kalen adjusted the collar of his robe, which smelled faintly of recycled seaweed, paste, and desperation. The diplomatic station hummed around him, a mess of wires, blinking lights, and alien chatter that he suspected was mostly insults disguised as greetings. He kept his voice low and his eyes lower, especially when passing the quadrupedal Glorbian diplomats who had a fondness for sticking their antennae where they shouldn't. "Hey, Greg," Kalen muttered to the malfunctioning translator strapped to his wrist, which stubbornly insisted that everyone's name was Greg. "You're about as useful as a solar-powered flashlight in a black hole." The translator beeped back in something that sounded like a sneeze and then tried to translate Kalen's sarcasm into Talaxian, which resulted in a phrase roughly meaning, "The cosmic soup is pleasantly sticky today." Kalen sighed and slid it off his wrist. He was just about to retreat to the dim recesses of the station's cafeteria, where the best they served was something resembling gum-flavored protein slurry, when the door hissed open with the subtlety of a starship's laser cannon. A figure stood silhouetted against the neon glow of the corridor, tall and poised, with black hair falling in waves that somehow defied gravity and ears that stretched longer than the usual Elevari diplomats. "You are the Talaxian scribe, correct?" she asked, voice smooth, but edged with something sharp enough to carve nebulae. Kalen blinked. "That would be me, unless Greg took my shift again." She stepped in without waiting for an invitation. "Good. Then you can come to my room." He hesitated. "You're asking me to come to your room. That's bold for a first meeting. Usually the aliens just beam me up or zap me into the nearest holding cell." She gave a dry smile, the kind that hinted at centuries of patience worn thin. "I find the latter inefficient and the former overused. Conversation is preferable." Kalen's mind raced. Was this some diplomatic trap? A test? Or maybe she just really liked terrible poetry. "Conversation, huh? Do you offer snacks?" She raised an eyebrow. "Only if you survive the trip." That was Kalen's cue to follow, mostly because his other options were decline and spend another week pretending to understand Glorbian etiquette, or hide in the mechanical bay until the station self-destructs. The corridor smelled faintly of ozone and recycled hope as they moved. Kalen noticed she carried no visible weapons, which was either a sign of supreme confidence or extreme foolishness. Probably the former, considering her reputation. Inside her room, the walls pulsed with softly shifting light, colors he could only describe as cosmic melancholy mixed with mildly annoyed starship. Crystalline armor plates floated in neat formation, like butterflies caught in a silent storm. "Welcome," she said, nodding toward a small device that buzzed quietly in a corner. "That is Mip, my star iguana. Harmless unless you steal his sun lamp." Kalen crouched down to greet the creature, which inspected him with reptilian judgment. Mip blinked twice, a signal Kalen took as approval or maybe just confusion. He made a mental note not to bring seaweed paste near the creature. "So," she began, perching on a sleek chair that looked designed more for command than comfort, "what does a Talaxian scribe do when he's not pretending to be a Glorbian linguist?" "Mostly," Kalen replied, "I recalibrate translators, decipher bureaucratic nonsense, and occasionally try not to get vaporized." She chuckled. "Sounds thrilling. Thrilling if you enjoy existential dread and poorly calibrated laser warnings." Cyrith tilted her head, the light catching on the long sweep of her ears. "I'm tired of being feared," she admitted suddenly. "Feared by my people, by my enemies, even by myself sometimes." Kalen blinked. "That's oddly relatable." She smiled, a flicker of something fragile behind her usual stoicism. "You humans seem less afraid than most." "Why?" He shrugged, feeling oddly brave. "Maybe because fear is exhausting. Also because I've survived 3 near-death meetings, 1 questionable alien delicacy, and a translator that insists your name is Greg. If I'm not afraid now, it's probably insanity." Mip snorted softly, a sound that might have been a laugh. Cyreth's gaze softened. "Perhaps you are exactly the kind of person I should talk to." Kalen glanced at the door, then back at her. "Well, I'm here, and I promise not to steal Mip's sun lamp. For now." A small smile tugged at her lips. "For now." And in that moment, amidst the humming lights and alien silhouettes, an unlikely conversation began, one that would unravel truths neither was prepared to face, but both desperately needed to hear. Cyrith settled deeper into her chair, the crystalline armor pieces around the room casting shifting reflections that looked like tiny trapped stars. Anu, she watched Kalen, who was awkwardly perched on the edge of a floating couch, his hands tangled in the sleeves of his robe, as if he was wrestling with an invisible octopus. "So," she said, voice smooth but carrying a hint of amusement, "tell me, scribe of dubious origin, how does one survive among the tangled politics of the station without accidentally insulting an ambassador's pet or being vaporized for a poorly chosen phrase?" Kalen blinked, then smiled wryly. "Survival strategy number one. Never admit to understanding half the conversations. Just nod and say, 'Interesting,' a lot. Number two, learn how to duck fast when laser warnings sound. Number three, keep a small stash of emergency gum-flavored protein slurry handy. Not tasty, but it buys you time." Cyrith raised an eyebrow. "Emergency protein slurry? Sounds delightful." "It's like eating a shoe," Kalen said, "but with slightly less chew resistance." She laughed. It was a sound that surprised even her, as if hearing her own laughter was as foreign as a human's touch. "You have a peculiar sense of humor for someone who claims to be a scribe." "Peculiar's my middle name," Kalen said, though he'd never legally changed it. "Actually, my parents wanted to name me something that would make me stand out, but their system glitched, and I ended up with a name that sounds like a malfunctioning robot." "Fitting," Cyrith mused, "for someone living undercover on a station that's a magnet for chaos and diplomatic accidents." They sat in a silence thick with possibility. Then Mip, the star iguana, crawled onto Kalen's lap and began inspecting his robe with a series of deliberate sniffs, and what Kalen could only interpret as reptilian skepticism. "Looks like you've been accepted," Cyrith said with a smile. Kalen wiggled uncomfortably, trying not to disturb Mip. "I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a death sentence." "Both," she replied. "Welcome to my world." "So, Lady Cyrith," Kalen began, "what brings a warrior diplomat to ask a lowly scribe to visit her quarters? Not exactly the usual protocol." Cyrith's eyes flicked toward the floating armor pieces, which shimmered like silent sentinels. "I'm weary of battles that never end, of the weight of expectation that crushes more than it empowers. I've grown tired of being a symbol rather than a person." Kalen nodded thoughtfully. "That sounds exhausting. I suppose even a warrior needs a break from all the posturing and politics." She smiled faintly. "Exactly. And you? What burdens do you carry beneath that calm demeanor?" Kalen's smile faltered. "Mostly the burden of pretending to be something I'm not. Humans aren't exactly welcome here. Not since the Galactic salad incident." Cyrith cocked her head. "Galactic salad incident?" "Oh, that was a diplomatic disaster of legendary proportions," Kalen said, shaking his head with a grin. "Long story short, someone accidentally served a sentient plant species as a garnish, and things escalated quickly. Let's just say the salad didn't survive, and neither did my career prospects." She laughed, a genuine sound this time. "Sounds like the universe has a sense of humor, albeit a cruel one. Or maybe it just likes to keep us on our toes," Kalen replied. "Speaking of which, how do you handle the constant pressure of leadership?" Cyrith sighed. "By pretending I'm immune to stress while secretly binge-watching old holovids. Right now, I'm obsessed with a series called Who Stole My Plasma Goat? It's absurd, but somehow comforting." Kalen grinned. "I know the feeling. Sometimes the best way to survive a cosmic mess is to find humor in the chaos." "Agreed," she said. "Tell me, what do humans find funny? Where do I start? Slapstick? Sarcasm? The fact that we've managed to survive this long without accidentally destroying ourselves with toasters." Cyrith raised an eyebrow. "Toasters?" "Long story," Kalen said. "But the gist is, humans have a knack for turning ordinary objects into potential death traps. It's both impressive and terrifying." They shared a laugh, the tension between them easing like the fading echoes of a distant supernova. As the hours passed, their conversation drifted from politics to philosophy, from alien customs to the peculiarities of human behavior. Kalen found himself fascinated by Sareth's candidness, her willingness to share vulnerabilities behind the armor she always wore in public. "You're not like anyone I've met here," he said quietly. "Most would have ordered me vaporized by now." "Maybe," she said, "but I'm tired of enemies. Sometimes I want to meet someone who doesn't see me as a threat." Kalen met her gaze, feeling an unfamiliar warmth. "Maybe that's why I'm here." A soft chime interrupted them, and the door slid open to reveal the station's AI interface, a hovering orb with blinking lights and a surprisingly grumpy voice. "Lady Cyrith, I regret to inform you that Ambassador Vrels of the Zytraxian Collective will be arriving in 5 minutes, and he is notably anti-human." Callan swallowed. "That sounds bad." Cyrith's eyes narrowed. "It is. We'll have to be careful." The orb added, "Also, someone has reprogrammed my humor settings to tell knock-knock jokes. I am not pleased." Kalen chuckled despite himself. "Sounds like the universe really is trying to keep us on our toes." Cyrith stood, a new determination in her stance. "Then we'll face it together. For now, Scribe, you are under my protection." Kalen smiled, feeling the weight of uncertainty, but also the spark of something unexpected. Trust. Kalen sat cross-legged on the floor of Cyrith's quarters, a stack of holographic data pads floating lazily above the table, like impatient fireflies. Mip, the star iguana, curled around his ankle, occasionally flicking its tongue as if to say, "Don't get too comfortable, human." Cyrith hovered nearby, arms crossed, watching him with an expression that balanced curiosity and amused suspicion. "So," she said, "you claim to be a Talaxian scribe, yet your handwriting curves like a drunken comet, and you keep quoting Earth poets I've never heard of. Are you certain you're not some sort of rogue historian from the Galactic archives?" Kalen grinned, pushing up his sleeves. "I'm as human as they come. Well, except for the questionable fashion choices and the inability to make decisions without overthinking. But the handwriting? That's just my personal rebellion against neatness." Cyrith raised an eyebrow. "Fascinating. Humans do have peculiar habits." Kalen smirked. "Peculiar is one word for it. Another would be, why the heck did we invent forks that only work half the time? But I digress." She laughed, the soundlight but genuine. "You've been spending a lot of time here. Most scribes stick to their data consoles and avoid me like a plasma storm. Mostly because most scribes don't have armor that could double as a small moon," Kalen said. "Also, you throw knives during casual chats. That's intimidating." Cyrith's smile twitched. "A necessary precaution. Conversations on this station can be lethal." "Good to know. So what's really going on, Cyrith? You didn't drag me here just for witty banter and my questionable cooking skills. What are you hiding?" She sighed, pacing slowly, the armor pieces shimmering with each movement. "My people expect me to be the perfect warrior, the unbreakable leader. But beneath the armor, I'm just tired. Tired of the endless wars, the political games, the constant need to prove my worth." Kalen nodded thoughtfully. "Sounds exhausting. I guess even queens get lonely." She stopped and looked at him, eyes softer than he'd ever seen. "Lonely is an understatement. Sometimes I wonder if anyone would recognize me without the armor, without the title." Kalen smiled gently. "I think people forget that even the strongest need someone to just see them." Cyrith's gaze held his, and for a moment, the barriers between them blurred. Then the door chimed softly. "Lady Cyrith, incoming transmission from the Council," a robotic voice announced. Cyrith frowned. "Not now." Kalen glanced at the console. "Want me to pretend to be a malfunctioning cleaning bot and block the call?" She chuckled. "Tempting, but no, I need to hear this." The holographic screen flickered to life, displaying the stern visage of Ambassador Vrels, his multiple eyes narrowing. "Lady Cyrith, your association with that human is concerning. The Council demands you sever ties immediately." Kalen swallowed. "That's not subtle." Cyrith's jaw tightened. "I will handle this." The transmission ended, and she turned to Kalen. "They fear what they don't understand. You represent everything they distrust." Kalen shrugged. "I've been living in the shadows for years. Fear has a way of chasing you, no matter how fast you run. Sareth stepped closer. Then we face it together. No more hiding. Mip hissed softly as if agreeing. Kalen smiled. I think I'm going to like this alliance. Sareth grinned, a rare and beautiful thing. So will I, human. So will I. Kalen stood at the edge of the observation deck, arms folded, watching the swirling nebula beyond the reinforced glass. Sareth approached, her long ears twitching as if they picked up the distant hum of the station's core, a sound he was certain no one else noticed, but that somehow grounded her. You look like you're contemplating the meaning of existence, she said, voice smooth but teasing. Kalen glanced at her, raising an eyebrow. More like wondering how a star that's literally a cloud of gas can inspire so many philosophers and poets. Plus, I'm trying to figure out if it's socially acceptable to ask for a nebula-themed latte. She laughed softly, the sound blending with the soft buzz of the station's life support systems. I doubt the station bar serves anything that fancy, mostly recycled water and whatever passes for coffee. Ah, the glamour of space diplomacy, Kalen sighed. High stakes and low-quality beverages. Sareth leaned against the railing, watching the colors shift and dance. You've adapted well to this chaos, Kalen shrugged. When the universe throws you into a mess, you learn to swim, or at least dog paddle awkwardly. She smiled, a flicker of warmth in her gaze. I've never met a human quite like you. Your humor is disarming. Disarming is my specialty, Kalen said, grinning, especially when I forget my blaster and have to rely on bad jokes instead. She shook her head, amused. Bad jokes can be lethal in their own way. Their conversation was interrupted by the sudden chime of the station's alert system, a sharp, insistent tone that sent a ripple through the deck's calm. What now? Kalen groaned. Sareth's expression hardened. Security breach in the lower docking bay. Could be hostile. They moved swiftly, the gravity compensators in Sareth's armor activating with a soft whir. Kalen followed, dodging crew members and technicians as they raced through the corridors. At the docking bay, chaos unfolded. A group of unidentified figures had boarded a supply vessel, weapons drawn, faces hidden beneath sleek helmets that reflected the harsh overhead lights. Great, Kalen muttered. Just what we needed. Space pirates with a flair for dramatic entrances. Sareth stepped forward, voice firm. Identify yourselves and stand down. The leader of the intruders stepped into the light, helmet retracting to reveal a familiar face. One of the station's disgraced former diplomats, rumored to have allied with a rogue faction. Sareth, the intruder sneered, always playing the loyal servant. How quaint. Sareth's eyes narrowed. You won't get away with this. Kalen, feeling the weight of the moment, glanced at Sareth. Need backup? She smirked. Always. With a swift motion, Sareth activated a concealed panel on her wrist, releasing a pulse that disabled the intruder's weapons. Mip darted forward, surprisingly agile, knocking helmets off and causing confusion. Kalen seized the opportunity, tossing a plasma net over two of the assailants. Come on, pirates! I'm a scribe, not a cage fighter! The leader cursed, retreating with the remaining intruders, but not before swearing, This isn't over, Sareth. As the docking bay returned to order, Sareth turned to Kalen, a hint of a smile on her lips. You handled yourself well. Kalen wiped sweat from his brow. I aim to please. Also, I'm really good at running away when things get messy. She laughed. We make a good team. Their eyes met, the unspoken understanding between them growing stronger amidst the stars and shadows of the station. Next time, Kalen said, let's try to have fewer gunfights and more coffee. Sareth nodded, a playful glint in her eyes. Deal. But only if you promise to bring the bad jokes. Kalen grinned. It's a package deal. Kalen stirred his third cup of synth coffee, watching the faint bluish glow ripple through the liquid as the station's artificial gravity made the droplets dance lazily. Sareth stood by the viewport, arms folded, her long ears catching the faint hum of the engines as if attuned to some secret rhythm. You ever think about what comes after all this? She asked, voice low. Kalen smirked, swirling his coffee. After being a human in a galaxy where no one quite trusts you, Probably figuring out how to make synth coffee taste less like burnt circuits. Sirith chuckled softly. One day you'll find a planet with better coffee, or at least better reasons to drink it. He raised his cup in a mock toast. To better coffee and better days. Their laughter filled the quiet room, a small island of warmth in a galaxy that often felt cold and unpredictable. It had been weeks since the docking bay incident, and the station's political tensions had eased, thanks in no small part to Sirith's unlikely alliance with the human scribe. The Council's initial distrust had softened, replaced by cautious curiosity and a grudging respect. "You've changed things, Callan," Sirith said, her gaze steady. "Not just with the Council, but with me. You made me see beyond the armor, beyond the duties and expectations." He leaned back, fingers tapping the table rhythmically. "And you made me realize that even in the vastness of space, connection matters. That being human isn't just about biology, it's about the choices we make." Sirith smiled, a genuine softness in her eyes. "I never imagined trusting a human, let alone seeking one out. Yet here we are." Kalen nodded. "Funny how the universe works. Sometimes it throws you into the deep end and expects you to swim. Sometimes it hands you a star iguana with a suspicious glare." Mip, perched on the windowsill, flicked its tongue as if on cue. Sirith laughed. "We've come a long way from the first awkward meeting. I almost vaporized you that day." "Yeah, I remember. You were very polite about it." "Don't make me kill you," Kalen quipped. "Best pickup line ever." She playfully swatted his shoulder. "You're impossible." The station's AI chimed softly. "Incoming transmission from the Galactic Council." Sirith exchanged a glance with Kalen. "Let's see what they want." The holographic image of the Council Elder appeared, her expression unreadable. "Lady Sirith, Kalen, the Council acknowledges the success of your partnership. Your efforts have forged a new path for interspecies cooperation. We extend our gratitude." Kalen grinned. "Finally, some good news around here," the Elder continued. "There is a matter of protocol to discuss, but that can wait. For now, enjoy your moment." The transmission ended and Sirith turned to Kalen. "A new chapter begins." He stood moving beside her to the viewport. "One with better coffee, fewer pirates, and hopefully more laughs." Sirith nodded. "And with you by my side, I'm ready for whatever comes next." Kalen smiled, feeling the weight of the journey behind them and the promise of the stars ahead. "Then let's make it a good one." Together they watched the nebula swirl beyond the station, a reminder that in a universe vast and full of mystery, the smallest connections could shine the brightest.